Gilbert Burns was talking about his upcoming title fight with Kamaru Usman, and Burns said, I'm going to finish him. I'll be the first one to ever finish him. He said, I got the tools. I'm very dangerous. I don't know how, but around the third or fourth round, I'm going to get Usman out of there. Now, you have to cite the source, right? This isn't just trash talk amongst fighters. We don't come out and break down every quote anybody ever said. It's very interesting, though, because Burns is such a gentleman. And Burns was not anywhere in there insulting Usman, but he was praising himself. And I find it interesting because these guys know. They know in their heart. It's very similar to when we discuss TJ Dillashaw versus Uriah Faber. They both know who's going to win. Now, they're both willing to walk out there. They're both willing to hope. They're both willing to try. They both know I'm going to hit the other one. He might hit me more. And that's worth it to them to get their licks in. But it is very similar. Many of you may have forgotten, but please don't, that Usman and Burns were teammates for like 6 years. They sparred together every session. They grappled together. They drilled together. They did strength and conditioning together. Teammates every single day. And as soon as Usman left and went out with Trevor, went out to Colorado, as soon as that happened, Henry Hoof, I always want to call that team the Black Zillions, but it's not. It's the guys who used to be Black Zillions. I don't know the name of their team. Henry Hoof's team instantly said, no, we want that title back. We want that title at our gym. We got the gym with the best 170-pounder, and even though it's not going to be Kamaru, we're going to get that title back. We're going to use this guy to do it. Talking about Burns. So now it's teammate versus teammate, and these guys have never turned on each other. Usman has never said one word bad about Burns. Burns hasn't said it about Usman, but Burns has now come out and complimented his own skills when he knows who he's taking on. He knows how those practice sessions went. He knows what he has had success with. And you could only begin to guess what that was. Was that with the submissions? Was that with boxing specifically? Was it a conditioning issue? And if I can get him late, I don't know. I don't know. When I look at Kamaru Usman, I see the only welterweight of all time where if you were going to say he is the greatest welterweight of all time, if you say anybody but Georges St. Pierre, you look stupid until now. You can now say it's Usman, and ultimately you'll lose. Ultimately you'll lose, and St. Pierre will still beat him. It was just a longevity thing. But that's window's getting closer and closer. I mean, that's how good Usman is. That is my point. That is how good Usman is, that he is the only guy ever that you could say is the greatest, even excluding St. Pierre, and not look like a fool. And Burns thinks he can beat him. And that's not just some kind of level tough guy talk or even a guy that's chasing a dream and by God, whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to do my best within this moment. This is his teammate who's felt him for endless hours. Say on average, those guys worked out an hour a day with each other. You got other guys in the room, but maybe they touch each other for 60 minutes a day. You do that times 5 for how many times there was in the week that they engaged, times 6 for how many years they were together. I mean, do you understand how much they have? I had teammates like this. I just saw Randy Couture was the best fighter in the world. He was the lightweight champion. He was the heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, heavyweight champion. He'd go back and forth. He's beating everybody. And we had guys in the room, names of which you wouldn't know. They never broke in. They never got their opportunity. They never went there. But they could go very close with Randy. Where if you watch me, what is this, the second best guy in the world? I mean, there's the best guy in the world. This guy must be the second best. Well, it was an issue that they worked out with him so much, so often, that it just closed that gap. And I bring those names for you because that would impress you, but I've seen that in practice room and wrestling stories where you would have an All-American against a guy who never even broke in to the lineup. But that would be a practice room match separated by 3 points, separated by 1 takedown. They just got to know each other so well. So any compliment that I'm giving Burns or anything that you could interpret as a compliment towards what his performance is going to be, the same thing goes for Usman. Usman is not without all of those same advantages and or disadvantages. The only difference here is that Usman has a belt up for grabs. Usman has something to lose. Burns has something to win. But that doesn't change the outcome of the match. That doesn't change a round of the match. That doesn't change one sequence within the match. But it is very compelling to me. And Burns has never come out and connected all these dots, right? There's a few cracks in the story. He's never filled them in. But it would seem as though if you read between the lines, Burns feels he's the better fighter and would have good reason to feel. If he was getting over on Usman in the practice room, he would have good reason to believe that. And their coaches seem to believe, they seem to see something. I bring that story to you because I think that would hit you as a surprise. Think if I was to tell you Gilbert Burns is going to beat Kamaru Usman. I think that was, you can say, what, say that again? What'd you just say? But it seems as though for guys that in the know seem to believe that Gilbert Burns is very, very competitive here. That's not the better. The better see it differently. The line in Vegas, it's very clear, and it has never hedged from day one of this fight being flirted with, let alone announced. Kamaru Usman is the favorite. I see Usman as the favorite. But I'm very interested in hearing from people who are eyewitnesses to some of these exchanges.